Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. My first art show here at Phoenix College. I thought I'd give a little bit of background on some of the stuff that I've made. Perhaps one of the first things that I ever poured out of bismuth was, believe it or not, this big piece right here. So it's a little bit more difficult to offload because obviously the price that of it, right? I thought about pouring this out of lead. I tried it. It pours very well. I'm just not sure how to safely display it. I'm thinking maybe giving it a coating of another metal, electroplating it with either copper or silver. Another possibility is anodization. I got to read more into the anodization of lead. I've read conflicting stories about that. This one's not bad. The problem with this one is that it bulges out. So bismuth expands when it freezes, right? So it bulges out. So I tend to use pewter or some other alloy, or at least an alloy of bismuth and lead for this one. Depending, I'm still kind of perfecting the percentage of tin to add to bismuth to keep it from expanding too much. So these guys, I think this one was half and half bismuth and tin. These guys are recycled bismuth shot that had 6% tin. Although once you pour it, I think it's not quite that high anymore because tin tends to oxidize a lot more than bismuth. That's why you can't anodize any of this stuff. I have a funny story about these geodes. I was working at a very toxic job, and I was on my way to quiet quitting the job pretty much. I would get home from work, it would be 7, 8 o'clock, and I would be so upset that I would get out the 100 pounds or so of bismuth and start pouring and pouring away. Now, one thing about pouring geodes is you never know how it's going to turn. When it turns really well like this one, I guarantee right after pouring that I'm going to be like, oh, I got to pour another one, right? If it doesn't turn very well, I got to make up for the lost time, and so I end up pouring more. And so it becomes a never-ending addiction almost like every time you pull the slot machine, oh, I was so close, right? You pull it again, oh my God, I just won $200, this is too easy. Let's pull that slot machine again until you look out the window and the sun's already rising the next day. And that was me for several months. I just ordered some sheet titanium. I hope to do some anodization to make. I'm thinking of using some sort of label paper to cut out the design I want, put it onto the sheet titanium and anodize. That's my. It's a little bit easier. I don't have to invest in a whole lot of space to do stuff like that, right? Here's some of the crystals from the geodes that didn't turn out during my time when I was so lost. This was February, March, earlier this year. I was so lost with toxicity at my job, and but I figured out a lot of stuff during that time. Like, for example, this Buddha, I figured out after pouring it, the mold sits like that. You can put a sheet of graphite on top of it to keep it from bulging outward, and then you gotta sand after that. I figured that part out. This was from another time when I screwed up. I spilled some of the bismuth onto my hot plate and it ended up like that. And then later on, I had a difficult time 1 month with ordering bismuth, supply chain shortages. I think the people who were working at that bismuth supplier were quiet quitting their jobs and couldn't find bismuth. And I worked with zinc for some time, pennies. And then I found a good frame to put some of these. Anyways, I hope to work with titanium sheet at some point. Just talking about the history of.
I heard titanium.
Right. Yeah, I'm hoping to work with a titanium metal. I obviously can't really cast it at a high melting point, but
Are these yours?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
And anodization and all that.
Yeah. So to anodize, it's like an electrical
Yep.
current.
Yep.
How do you control for what color you're doing?
Yeah, a lot of trial and error. A lot of endless nights. I was just talking about how a lot of times I get off work, it's 8 o'clock at night, and next thing I know, the sun's already rising after doing this.
I think that means you're in the flow.
Right. You know, not only sometimes it's the sun rising, when it's actually the sun rising 2 days later sometimes.
That's super flow.
That's how crazy I went with some of this stuff.
What's the source metal?
Bismuth.
Oh, bismuth.
Right.
What kind of melting temperature does that have?
Let's see, 270 Celsius, I think.
Oh, what is that in Fahrenheit?
I think 520, I want to
You
say.
can almost do that in your oven.
Yeah, that's what I do, right.
It's in heavens in your oven?
Hot plate.
What?
Yeah.
Does it have toxic fumes?
No.
Like aluminum does? I mean, like lead?
No. Actually, it's interesting. Bismuth is right next to all sorts of toxic metals, but it's quite safe. You ever taken Pepto-Bismol? It's a compound of.
Oh, yeah.
But what's really interesting is, look at where bismuth is on the periodic table. Go any direction from it, it's all toxic. But
bismuth.
right.
This one is beautiful.
Right.
Wow. Oh, nice work.
The only slight disadvantage is it's a little bit on the pricey side of things. This is a silicone mold. The only other metal you could potentially pour into that is maybe lead, but then it's toxic. You got to give it a coating of something.
Yep.
Right.
I made silicone molds and done like various resins and concrete.
But you've never poured metal, have you?
I poured metal into like plaster, like gloss wax. Casting.
Oh, I got to try that at some point. This is a silicone mold. The way it sits is the mold sits like that. So the trick is you can't.
One part mold.
Right. The problem, you can't just pour directly because bismuth is so heavy, it will distort everything. You got to put a brick on each side of this.
Oh, because the mold will blow out.
Right, because it's heavy.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of trial and error. You got to make sure the mold doesn't move while you're pouring because otherwise you'll get these little cracks in it. Right. This is from the mold moving too much, so you got to put your bricks in the right place.
What was your original piece? How did you make that?
What do you mean?
Like, what did you make a mold of?
Oh, I bought the mold off eBay.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Have you ever made a mold?
No, I haven't. I hope to try that at some point.
It's just like block it out, mix a couple parts together.
Right, but you gotta design the original as well, right? In order.
Right.
Right. I hope to try that at some point. Guess what metal that is?
It's so silvery.
Yeah, it's zinc, and I got it for melting pennies, if you could believe it.
Yeah, I had made a copper piece.
From pennies? 82 and earlier pennies, right?
I made it out of like real copper, and there was like a little hole in it, and I was like, oh, I'll just fill that with some pennies.
Right.
And then it was like silver ash. I'm like, oh.
Because you probably use ones from newer pennies. You got to look for 82 and earlier if you want to do that.
Total realization of like, oh, pennies aren't made of copper anymore.
Well, you can still look for pennies are 82 and earlier. I'd say about 1 in 10 pennies. Go through like a few rolls if you need a few.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's pure zinc.
Yeah.
Can I pick one up?
Sure.
Because I picked up other things without really asking.
That's all right.
They're so interesting. What is it about the Buddha?
Just easy to pour. And
It's got such a good like round.
Right.
Do you know the work of Fernando Botero? Yeah, he has something up at the Desert Botanical Gardens right now. But the work is so.
Oh, I so badly want to display over there. No luck though. Those people are very top notch.
At the Desert Botanical.
Yeah. I go there a lot.
Very cool.
All right.